All right, let's start the webinar. We looks like we have quite a bunch of people in there now. So thank you for joining everyone today. We're very excited to have you here while we talk about how do carbon credits work in our series of CarbonCurious webinars. So the concept is we'll have a talk about how carbon credits work for about 10 minutes. We'll follow up that part by 20 minutes of an Ask Me Anything bit. There are quite some questions, however, that have been pre-submitted, which was great to see. We prepared those and we'll go through those first. If we have any time left, then we will definitely answer questions from the Q&A section here in the webinar. If you want to ask them, just drop them below in the Q&A section, and then we'll start. So let me swap or go to the next slide. So by way of introduction, I'm Kevin, head of customer accounts. So that means that I look after the team at CarbonCrop that looks after all of our customers, based on the Kapiti Coast, mostly working from home. And with us today also is Rowan.
Yes. Hello. Hi, I'm Rowan Sprague. I'm a carbon forestry specialist here at CarbonCrop. Before I started at CarbonCrop, I was working in the wilding pine space. So yeah, really keen to kind of be on the other side, more in forestry. I'm based in Christchurch. Yeah, also mostly working from home. We have a little shared office here in Christchurch too. But yeah, really keen for your questions.
Thank you, Rowan. And then with us also today is Abby. Abby's on incognito mode. She's in our marketing team, so she will be helping to answer any questions that come up during the webinar. You might ask yourself, how do I ask a question? That is an excellent question in itself. I added a little screenshot here of the menu bar that you should be seeing in your Zoom window. So if you find the little Q&A icon there, click that, then you can ask a question. Other people will not see your question, just us, but if it's answered in the chat, then others will see it. So if you want to ask your question anonymously, that's totally fine. Just remember to check that little box as you are typing your question. All right, formalities out the way. Let's get cracking. So who is CarbonCrop? CarbonCrop is a Nelson-based startup. We're about 35 people now. And what we're doing is that together with landowners around the world, we're on a mission to pull 1 billion tons of CO2 out of the atmosphere and lock it up in trees. For now, we are focusing mostly on New Zealand. We have coming up on 300 customers with all sizes of land and forests. We're particularly focused on encouraging native reforestation, and to quickly summarize what we stand for, it is better offsets and better forests. It means that we consider ourselves native specialists. Out of everything that we have submitted to the ETS, 80% of that, or well above, actually, I should say 80%, is native trees. And out of all of the submissions that we've done so far, MPI, the Ministry for Primary Industries, has come back and said that, or they have accepted 95% of all of the hectares accepted. So that's some stats that we're pretty proud of. That out of the way, we will go into the actual flesh of the webinar. So the first bit is, what is a carbon credit? So over to you, Rowan.
Yeah. So a carbon credit represents 1 ton of carbon dioxide. And this is used internationally. So carbon credits generally, well, they will always represent, or they should always represent 1 ton of carbon dioxide or carbon dioxide equivalent. In New Zealand, in the ETS, we have what's called NZUs. So an NZU also represents 1 ton of carbon dioxide. Next slide, please. Yeah, so currently the spot price for an NZU is selling for $88. We've linked, you can go to comtrade.co.nz if you want to see or just kind of track the current spot prices. But carbon credits are definitely selling for a fair bit of money. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see the graph of the spot price of NZUs over the last 2 years. So towards the end of 2020, the spot price for NZUs was around $40, so that's per unit. And yeah, now it's 88. So we have seen a big increase, and it's forecasted to continue to go up. Next slide, please. So a carbon credit can represent or can be either issued or surrendered. So on the left-hand side, we have trees that are growing, and as they're growing, they suck carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and they store it. So that represents a carbon credit which can be issued. On the right-hand side, we have a polluter who is emitting carbon dioxide. So they would have to do what's called surrendering a carbon credit. Basically means they have to pay for the carbon that they are emitting. So there's those two sides there. And over to you, Kevin, for the next part.
Thank you. Yes. And then the logical next question would be, what is the ETS? And the ETS stands for the Emissions Trading Scheme. And we've put it right in between that the people that are sequestering carbon, so the trees, I should say, that are sequestering carbon, and the emitters that need to surrender credits. That means that the ETS, the Emissions Trading Scheme, is regulated by the New Zealand government. The ETS, or this slide, as it's very simply depicted by these icons, is often referred to as the compliance market. It's called that way because it is regulated by the New Zealand government. The government issues NZUs for carbon removed from the atmosphere by forests. So landowners that have forests and want to submit that to MPI for approval. So the Ministry of Primary Industries does that approval. Then if that's approved, the ETS will you get those credits, and then through the ETS, it is a marketplace essentially where these emitting companies can go to purchase those credits to offset their emissions. CarbonCrop focuses on the issuance side of the ETS, that is the post-1989 forestry carbon credits or offsets, and that is on the left-hand side. And then CarbonCrop's role, what role do we play? So it starts with a free land assessment all the way in the left-hand side. So we would analyze your forest and understand, okay, what is your forest eligibility? That doesn't cost anything, it's a free assessment. Once we've had a look at that and you, as a landowner, indicate that you want to move forward with that, then we will work with you to collect evidence, and we will put a file together to submit to the Ministry for Primary Industries. Once that is approved by the MPI, then we help you earn credits. Basically, they go into a holding account. It's kind of like a bank account, but for credits. And from that account, we can help you sell those credits on the ETS, so on the marketplace. And then as a last step, what CarbonCrop does is we take care of all of the ongoing compliance for you. So there's quite a bit of work involved in that last bit. It's a bit harder. So examples of that are an annual voluntary emissions return and a 5-yearly mandatory emissions return. There's some risk involved with that, but so we take care of all of the ongoing administration and compliance for that. And then over to you, Rowan.
Yeah, so I guess in terms of how you earn carbon credits. So as trees grow, you can earn carbon credits for, I guess, the amount that those trees are growing. So what you're earning is that difference. So you're not earning for the total amount of what's stored in the trees. It's just the difference of what is, I guess, sequestered year on year. And yeah, next slide, please. And I guess in terms of how it works for earning carbon credits through CarbonCrop. So first you would earn based on what has been sequestered in your forest. So we would file, as Kevin mentioned, an emissions return for you. Next, once we've filed that emissions return for you, carbon credits will appear in your holding account, which Kevin also mentioned before. And then once you have your carbon credits, you can decide what you want to do. So you can figure out if you want to keep your credits, either to make a claim about being carbon neutral, or you can just kind of keep your eye on the spot price and see if it goes up, or just wait and see what you want to do. You can also sell them and basically get money for those carbon credits. And then after that, basically you repeat that cycle. So you can file an emissions return annually, or also just once in the mandatory emissions return period. But yeah, at CarbonCrop, we would take care of that process for you, but this cycle repeats.
Thank you.
Okay. And next slide. Oh yeah. So finally, this is not related to necessarily how carbon credits work, but because it's sort of related. So MPI has announced that they are going to increase their fees for registering in the ETS from the 1st of January 2023. So right now, to apply to the ETS, it costs about $562. It's just a flat rate. But MPI is proposing that they will increase, if you're applying for 0 to 49 hectares of forest, it will increase to about $1,800. If you're applying for over 500 hectares, for example, it'll cost over $4,000. So we want to let people know about this because it's a substantial increase in those application fees. So if you are super keen and you sign up with us before the 30th of November, we will aim to submit your application before this fee increase. So you can stick with the 562 rather than substantially more.
Thank you.
Yeah.